But we move tonight to the beginning of the series with Dr. Boureima Diamitani, who has generously consented to join us after a grueling day with our staff. I think you spent many hours yesterday afternoon and today learning a bit about the Indianapolis Museum of Art and having a fresh conversation about the future. Tonight, we're also thanking Linda Duke, who oversees our education division, who's known Dr. Diamitani for 13 years and has been indispensable in so many ways. And I thank Linda for beginning the conversation. And actually what it led to was, ironically, I was heading to Salzburg some months ago, just a few months ago, and I mentioned to her that I would be meeting Dr. Diamitani, and so we started a discussion, and it reinforced the logic of our having a conversation tonight, and that's what's led to some other possibilities that I'll touch on as well. Well, the last 20 years has seen a flourishing of private and regional and community-based museums in West Africa, and these have been created in a kind of reclamation of culture and history from the narrative told by the West for the preceding generations. And these museums have faced many challenges, but they have boldly also walked up to the possibilities of the future. And it's at the same time, Western art museums have been at a glacial pace starting to think about how to present African art in a slightly different light, or perhaps a radically different light, one that absorbs the fact that the period of colonization evaporated and the period of independence began. But so many American art museums in particular have been slow to figure out what to do to acknowledge a change in the character of both African art and African institutions. And tonight is the beginning of a conversation we hope will continue for some time to come. Since 2001, Dr. Diamitani has served as Executive Director of the West African Museums Program, or WAMP, in Dakar, in Senegal. And WAMP was created in 1982 as a project of the African International Institute. It's a regional NGO, a non-governmental organization, working in 16 West African countries with a network of 200 museums and cultural institutions. And WAMP Online, www.wamponline.org, can give you a great deal more information about it. It does training and professional development, grant making and administering grant programs, and has proved to be an indispensable feature of life among museums in West Africa. Dr. Diamitani has a Master's in Architecture and Urban Planning from Lomé in Togo, a diploma in Conservation of Monuments and Site Architecture from the Marseille School of Architecture. He has a PhD from the University of Iowa, and subsequently received an international MBA from the Institut Supérieur in Senegal. So he's the most educated guest I've ever had in any context, and we have a great deal to learn from him. He has put together lots of exhibitions in a curatorial capacity, in a directorial capacity, including one on the history of bicycles and motorcycles in Burkina Faso. He was previously Director of Cultural Heritage and Museums in Burkina Faso from 1989 to 1993. And he served broadly as a consultant to many institutions, including the World Bank, has spent a great deal of time in Washington, and serves as an advisor and consultant elsewhere. His publications include a 2005 publication titled Armed Conflict and Conservation, Promoting Cultural Heritage in Post-War Recovery, which was published by ICROM, and Architecture Traditionnelle du Burkina, which was one of his many studies. So we're very grateful that he's made the trip to Indianapolis, and please join me in welcoming Dr. Boureima Diamitani. I asked Dr. Diamitani if he might start, before we have our conversation, with just some background on what happens with WAMP and some of what you're working on right now.
Thank you, Max, and thank you for coming. How you said, I'm Diamitani Boureima from, I can say I'm from Burkina Faso, but I'm working in Senegal. Burkina Faso is a landlocked country. For some people, used to be open water. WAMP is, I'm working at WAMP since 2001, and WAMP is, as Max said, a non-governmental organization working with more than 200 museums today in West Africa. So we work with a museum from Cape Verde to Cameroon, and with Anglophone, Lusophone, and Francophone countries. And also we have a lot of different museums, public museums, private museums, what we call community-based museums, and also specialized museums. What we did is to try to define the role of museum in Africa, because we know that we have this definition, broad definition of museum from ICOM, but we say we know that in Africa we have different type of museum. We don't see museums like Western people see museums, because museums came to Africa during the colonial period with essentially French colonization in Francophone countries and English colonization with Anglophone countries. And during that period, it was before 1960, the 60s, museums were open only to Western people, because a museum was a place for French people, not for African. So today, after the independence, African people did not take the change, and I think they were not familiar or comfortable going to the museum, because the museum was not a place for them. And also, I think during that colonial period, the collection, because the content of the museum, the objects that are in the museum, were for these people, this audience, this public, not for African, because they tried to show the collection, to try maybe to justify the colonization, saying, okay, look at this culture, look at this object, it is why we are colonizing this, it was for French people. So today, many of our museums still have, we can call that colonial collection. So it is why we don't want to go to museum to go to see a seat we are using at home, or to go to see a dress we are wearing every day, or to see a mask we are having, we have at home in our village every day. And it is why WAMP was created in 1982 to try to see how to help this museum to go beyond all this colonial system. And I think the most important thing at the start was to help the staff, and also to help move from the colonial collection, colonial way of thinking, and also. But for 25 years, we have been working with public museums. And when you say public museum in Africa, that means that it is a museum belong to the government. And it is the Minister of Culture who just appoints the curator, the Minister of Culture who appoints the director of the museum. And so even the collection, the way the collection is moving is for. And we just try to see how to help develop more small museums, private museums, community-based museums, specialized museums, belonging to the community, to some people who have, we can take care of that, so they can be able to change things, because they can decide this is so. And today, after 25 years in Senegal, 25 years in 20 years in Senegal, because we are in Abidjan before, we are moving, relocating to Niger. If you look at Niger, is the other side of Senegal. And why? Well, because of because we are in the, we say, okay, after 25 years, we need to do something new. We need to rethink our vision. We need to review our mission, to say how we can just allow people to come more to the museum. Because after all this effort, we just still notice that we still have some problem attracting people in our museum. We need also to see, to develop the other type of culture we have in Africa, what we call immaterial culture. Because they have the object, people are not very interested in their object. Maybe we need to see the traditional knowledge, how people are thinking and practicing, and I think it is all this, which is our strategy, moving, taking one from Senegal to, but we still are in Africa, we are still working on on the same area, trying to develop the museums. And I think it is why I'm very happy also to be here and to see how we can just continue this support to museum, West African museums with your museum here.
Thank you very much, Boureima. Well, of course, tonight we're joined by Ted Salenko, who is our curator of African art, who took our collection from Harrison Idle-Jorg and took it and nurtured it into one of the 10 great African collections today in the United States, and it's on prominent display on the second floor. And I know you had a chance to spend time with Ted today and see the amazing accomplishments he's made over many years here. I guess I would start with a question about the representation of Africa generally in American museums. You know a lot of American museums, having spent time in Washington and elsewhere, and we take a point of departure about how to present objects from Africa. How would you say, in general, that succeeds and might be improved upon in the way we show the art of Africa? So many museums choose to do it in geographical terms or in thematic terms, and it's so different from what one experiences in Africa.
Oh, this is a very tough question, but I can say I just got a chance to visit a lot of museums in the United States, in Europe, in Africa, and the way Americans are showing African art in the different museums, and say it depends on the public, and I think this way of presenting art objects is for American public, because they need to know more about each object, so you need more labels, you need maybe to show people a lot of pictures, so they can just get the sense of what they are seeing. For example, if you show a wood mask, helmet mask, or a sculpture, people have to know exactly what is this object, what is a wood object. Contrary to Africa, who generally people they know already this object, so maybe they don't need all this explanation, all this presentation. But I can say that generally it is what I saw here this morning is a very I don't know what to say that, but very good presentation, and the way I saw it is with you have the objects, you have the picture, you have the video showing the object in movement. Because it is what I'm saying, that in Africa, going to the museum to look at a face mask in the plexiglass glass, people don't want to do that, because you have the mask with the music, with the environment, with everything in your village. But here, I think it is a way you are presenting and I think that in Africa, it is why we have maybe some problem getting more public in our museum. But here, I think it is you can say that it is.
Well, it's a striking issue for all museum displays of all cultures, because we could say that when we show Renaissance paintings that were in a cathedral in the 16th century, and we show them in a gallery lined up next to each other, and not in a nave with incense burning and ritual around it, it really has very little to do with the way it was experienced in the Italian Renaissance, and the same could be said about a mask of the Igbo people. But generally speaking, yes, the challenge, I think, in this country is a very different one. And I guess I'm curious about how the image, then, as you describe it, of immaterial experience, you might look to present in museums in West Africa. What is it you would look to do to get audiences in Africa to look at objects and history differently?
I think it is immaterial culture is not I'm going to give an example with talking about this type of exhibition I did when I was director of National Museum of Burkina Faso. We started with this exhibition on bicycle, because we tried to look at and to say the truth, I was nominated because I was not in art historian at the beginning. I just started as architect and when I was nominated director of National Museum of Burkina Faso, this is the first time I went to the museum. I did not go to the museum.
That's a good start. It's the first day you're the director and never been there before.
So I asked myself, what if I am myself, if I have to go to the museum, what I would like to see in the museum? So we start with this exhibition. But when we look at, we just understand that people, they have their preoccupations, and they have, we try to see how to connect people with their preoccupation, and to transform this museum in a place where people can come to learn about their culture, because there are also some aspect of their culture they don't know, but also to learn about other people culture. Because what I used to say that in Africa we don't know each other. It is maybe because of that we have a lot of conflict, because we have in the same country you have a lot of ethnic groups. In Burkina Faso we have 60 different ethnic groups. So the different groups, they have a lot of traditional, what we call traditional knowledge, and this knowledge you can see them through the way they are living, the way they are doing things, and so. And this kind of practices, we say to show that in the museum you need to talk to people, to bring them to the museum, to do some different things. For example, we have in the regional museum in Burkina Faso, we just try to build traditional houses inside the museum to show to people the way the Seminole people live in their house, the way the Mosi people live. And it is during the building, the construction of these traditional houses, we try to keep what we call the immaterial culture, because there is the way people are building, the way you are putting the walls. I think it is something you have to show, to correct, and to document and so on. And also, I think that by the way, we would like to keep this tradition, because people are moving from villages to cities, and now from cities to Western countries. And in the village today, you have maybe only women, maybe little boys, and we think that there are a lot of things missing in the different villages. And you need to collect what we call this traditional way of living, to collect and to keep them, because we think that we need to show that to different people later on.
And we have a concept building on that, which is unique in the United States, around the concept of the art museum. Because overseas, whether it's Canada, Britain, Europe, museum defines a place that's about cultural history, whereas a gallery is an art, what we would call an art museum. So we have this very strange approach to museology in the United States relative to most of the world. How does that strike you in relation to other museums, and particularly the way you're looking to build up the expertise? The fact that in the US we cut art off from life and culture. We make it a fetishistic, worshipped object like a skull by Damien Hirst, or a mask of the Yoruba, or a table from the 18th century.
Yes, but generally we don't have, I'm talking about public museum, we have maybe sometimes one museum, and inside this museum we have everything. And after that, it is what also I'm saying, that we try to define, because we don't see the museums the same way you in Western country are seeing the museum. And this is why at one, we try to define and say, okay, maybe we think that we have to change the name of museum, because today in Africa, when we say museum, people don't know sometimes what it's about. The people who know, they say, okay, this is a white thing, museum is not African. But we know that, a place for education, or a place of information, a place for sensitization is for, we can call it house of culture, we can call it another name. So it is why we think that we don't have we don't have the same sense of view, of American museum. Right. Because for us, it is a place today there there are two different things. It is a place where you have different objects and also.
Well, and I guess it's starting to change in the United States. I think there's a feeling that it's not sufficient to show beautiful objects on pedestals and assume everything else is taken care of. I know a lot of curators around the United States who would be happy not to see any labels because that you can that way really enjoy the object without any interference. But I think there is a shift that's happening in how museums are addressing this. And speaking of shifts, you and I were in Austria at a conference that was dealing with a shift in perception about responsibility over cultural heritage and the ways in which objects that have left their country of modern discovery or of origin have to be re-looked at. Could you tell us a little bit about that conference and what we experienced there and some of the things that are in development since that conference in Salzburg?
Yes, I think many ideas about this conference was a circulation of objects. You know, how we can share objects and also we can use open or museums to other people. And it is, I think it was a very great conference because I went there with the expectation to talk about what we are planning to do in the future. Because West African Museum, what I said was, is a group of museums, 200 museums. Even among these museums, we have some problems, we have some difficulties opening our museums because our collections are diverse, but also don't have the same type of collections. And we think today that it is necessary that we open our museums to ourselves first. You know, for example, a museum for Cote d'Ivoire can just send an exhibition to a museum in Burkina Faso, museum in Mali or Senegal, something like that. And open also our exhibition or collection or museum to other countries, continent like the United States or Europe. Because today you cannot, we talk about globalization and we think that it is necessary that we try to understand. And we know that in your countries there are a lot of objects, use African objects, but sometimes all these objects there are a lot of information missing because during the period of colonial, many objects left the continent during the colonial period of colonial or before that, and with not enough information, and sometimes there are some misinterpretation, even the origin of the different objects. And I know that even today, sometimes I receive photographs or objects from, they don't know if it is Senufo, it is Kulan, or it is something like that. And we say that it is good to open so we can just bring the different information to complete the different objects in the museum. And at the same time, we can also open our museum to Western people who can bring also their expertise on a different way. Because today I just got a chance to look at, I spent a lot of time on the conservation lab, and I think it is a great conservation lab. And we need, I think, I don't know a museum in Africa with a conservation lab. We have objects, many objects are deteriorating. We need to preserve and to conserve this object. And thereafter we can start doing some research on these objects. Because I said earlier that we have some problem because we don't know each other. And through the object, you can maybe understand, you can maybe discuss with people, we can try to see how people are doing. And I think that this conference in Salzburg was a very great conference, and I think I got the opportunity to meet you, to meet some people like the director of the British Museum, some other director of museums. And today we have a lot of projects with the British Museum, and tomorrow I think we'll give your museum. And I think it is what we have to do, to open our museums, let objects circulate, and also to see how we can make discussion and share the expertise. Maybe we don't have enough expertise in Africa, but I think I'm sure that there is something we can bring to help in the restoration of all these
Well, one of the great moments of the conference was when the director of the British Museum, Neil McGregor, opened up to you about an opportunity for a true exchange and the possibility of their helping you with strategic planning for the future of WAMP and museums in general. And I know you're working with the Getty Trust also on a conservation initiative. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we seem to have embarked on a fresh and exciting path between the West African Museums Program and the Indianapolis Museum of Art as a third institution beyond the BM and the Getty. So we're very excited about what may come of that. And in particular, the chance for us to learn about our collections, to study them through the eyes of expertise from your museums, equally to perhaps bring some works from collections in West Africa to the IMA and study those with the conservation expertise we're building, and to train some staff of yours here. So that's really where a dialogue begins culturally, and where Salzburg was fascinating was to throw together literally people who were from Uzbekistan and a very small museum, a cultural history museum, with the director of the British Museum, and we were all thrown together in a remarkable experience. And that's how things change. It's how things change as personal interaction and the opportunity for it. What do you think, in the end, you might gain from a strategic planning exercise with the British Museum? What do you hope to have that lead you to?
Because I think just before coming to this discussion, I just like to say that at WAMP not only we have these museums together, but also we have a great personnel. We have people. You know, I think also to run a museum, to manage a museum, you need some professionals, and we have professionals today. I think from different areas. And in Anglophone countries, Lusophone countries, Francophone countries. So thousands of people can just be ready to be able to do that. And for the strategic plan, because like you said, that we just receive support from the British Museum to help us to develop a new strategic plan, because moving, relocating our organization from Senegal to Niger, we think that we don't have used to move the organization and to continue on what we used to do. We say, okay, this is a new challenge, this is a new opportunity for us to start over and to do something new. Because for 25 years we have been doing a lot of different things, working with public museums, helping developing community-based museums, private museums. And today we think that we need to change our vision, because what is a new vision for one? What will be a new mission for one? We were a West African mission, but today I think we have enough expertise. We can open West Africa to East Africa, to Central Africa, to other regions, because I know that today in Central Africa there are a lot of missions they need. They are looking at one, say, okay, can you help us? So before the constitution, we are not able to work beyond West Africa. And I think this is going to be one of the new missions. And also we think that we have a lot of all these people in the Sahara Desert, part of Arabic countries, or because the Sahara is kind of a band between, if I can call it, white Africa and black Africa. But all these people, I think we need to see the culture of these people, and also differently. And also we think that we need to strengthen our institution, to see exactly who owns one, who can be member of one, who can work with one, who can benefit from the training and so thing. And also to try to see what type of, to focus on what we have been doing the best, because there are a lot of things we are doing the best. We are doing now to try to see what we are doing the best. And so what we like to do after the development, presently there is a consultant working on this strategic plan. We are working together. And we think that we like to organize a validation, what we can call the validation meeting. And we are going to share this strategic plan with our partners, with our some resource person, and to have a big meeting and to sit down and say, it is what one would like to do these 3 coming years. What do you think about that? Can you help us? If there is some suggestion you would like to make, something like that. And I think by January or February, we will think to do that with support, and I think I hope you will be there for this meeting, and from there we can just have a new start for our new organization.
Well, you know, I have to say, representing a Western institution, we're gratified to think that China isn't dominating everything in Africa the way it seems to be economically. We've all been reading a lot about how China is becoming a major force in the economy of Africa in general. And I'm just curious if you've had any connections with Chinese authorities or have been witness to their impact in cultural future of Africa.
Well, I think this is not only in Africa. Chinese.
Well, no, I know. We're talking tonight, so believe me, we all are painfully aware of the extent to which they own us
yes,
at this point.
But in Africa, for the moment, I think they are more involved in the economic part, you know, looking for oil, looking for different things. But we know that there is a real problem with the cultural sector, because I know that I just met some professional or some artisan. I know that there are a lot of duplication of things. Today, you have the kente cloth, you have the different objects. You know, the Chinese, they just take them and you have the same design, the same motif, and they bring them back very cheap. And we have a huge problem with the artisans, you know. So
it's forgeries, basically.
Yes, forgeries, yeah. And but they do that. There is no legal solution. And the one who like to take, we are planning to try to see how we can just be able to get a law to be able to protect all these artisans. Because today there is no law to do that.
Right.
And then there is a international, we call that CIO. CIO is an international fair for artisans in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso, every 2 years, this year. I think even there they started saying that the Chinese used to come to this fair, take the best artisan work, bring them back to China and bring them in very cheap, and it is a real problem. But now we need to try to see how we can protect this artisan and how to let them get something from their work.
For us, the challenges recently have been publicized around the publication of movies and music, and for a lot of European designers, the knockoffs and so on. So it's a problem that goes broadly around the world, of course. Well, I want to get to some questions, if there are some, from our audience, but I did want to ask you a couple of more things. One is really how closely the United States is being watched by West Africans today, and what's going on here.
Essentially today is the election, I think. I know that in Senegal and also in Burkina, where I am, people watch a lot this.
Well, you were up at 3 in the morning watching the first debate between
yes. The first debate, and even coming here, I have a lot of order. People say, okay, bring me the T-shirt of Obama, bring me the bring me anything from Obama.
Yeah.
And I know
we're not allowed to sell those in our shop, and I hope you understand. We have to sell equal tons.
Even I talked to my wife yesterday. She said, okay, did you get the T-shirt of Obama? I said, okay, I just got here yesterday. Let me give me some days also. No, I know that African people I know, they are very, very interesting. Even the press, you know, every time there is a debate, every time there is everyone trying to see, because there is a different style, but I think the debate in our area is around 3 o'clock, 1 o'clock, or around 2 p.m., 2 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
People stay to watch the debate.
Yeah.
And I know that I don't want to be political employed, but I know that many people is supporting Obama there, not because it is African origin from Africa, but I think that from my point of view, when people with whom we discuss it, because of people think of going to be a new view of America to in the rest of the world, because of the war. Because they think that, they think that maybe it is, I think that it is, it can just end the war in Iraq and something like that, and other by Africa. This is what I can say about it.
Well, you know, one of the challenges, of course, is going back in time to how to treat cultural heritage that left Africa under duress by traders who were working against the interests of local concerns. And have you, in your mind, drawn a bright line in history and said, after this, objects should be subject to repatriation, and before this, it's too much to try to deal with? Is that something that you've worked on actively?
Yes, I think in the last bulletin of one, I think I have an article in talking about that, because there is a lot of debate going on actually about the repatriation, because it is a political issue, because I think even the African Union, they are debating this issue. A lot of Minister of Culture of Africa debating this issue. But my point of view is that this cannot be only a political debate, because it is a real debate. Because if you look at the state of museum, because my point is that I know almost all the different museums in West Africa. Maybe today we can say that maybe one or two only museums have the capacity, the very good condition to keep very good objects. I think I told them that, first of all, you have to take care of the object you have inside the museum. Because there are some museums, when you go there, we have a problem of security. Objects in museums in Africa, sometimes public museum essentially belongs to the government. The Minister of Culture can decide. He come to the museum, he can ask to the curator, just put this object in a box or something like that can take it to give it to as gift to someone. Is right, and there is no problem. And a curator can also decide to take an object and to do what he like to do with. And there is this real problem in our museums. And I think that necessarily we need to see the security and also the condition of keeping our object in the museum. But I don't want to say that we don't have to ask for the repatriation. But before repatriating the object, we have to be sure that this object inside public museums or open museum in the United States do not go back to private collectors, because when the object goes back to Africa and come back again here, I think we're not sure that we're going to see it again. So it is what I'm suggesting, that we can get a kind of a discussion to ask, to negotiate, kind of, or not negotiation like that, but discussion, to try to collaborate and to see how we can just get some help to have very good museums, very good condition of keeping the object. Because I'm sure that I even was approached by some curator or some director of museum when I was here. Some museums have a lot of objects. They would like to return it, to give it back to some museum, but they don't know to whom to return this object. Because today is discussion. The objects taken to left Africa in the 90s. Today the object, you are returning this object to whom? To the Minister of Culture, to the village, or to the owner, because sometimes we don't know the owner. We don't know where the object is from. We don't know exactly the village. Even if you take it to the village today, are you sure you are going to get someone there who is still using this object? Because there is a lot of Islamization in Africa today. A lot of objects were burned down. A lot of objects was, because of Islam and Christianity, they don't want to see the object. So they took all this object was thrown away. But all objects have not been stolen in Africa. There are some objects that have been just, people do not want them, and they came here. So there is a lot of things to do. And also, as I said that before that, also you need to know exactly how many objects, type of objects you have in outside, and to try to see, to prepare, and today, if we like to repatriate all objects, African objects in museums, I don't know if we are going to get enough room or enough space to get them. So it is what we are trying to do. We are going to open our museums. We are going to work with other museums to see if we can start getting back some objects, but with negotiation, with some support, with a lot of different possibilities.
Well, of course, it's a worldwide problem to think about in every culture of when something is clearly in need of being sent back to its place of origin, and not something we can solve tonight, I'm sure. Thank you so much. Thanks to all of you for being here tonight.